Welcome to AI Evening News. Tonight, OpenAI unveils its own AI chip. ChatGPT gets friendlier. Gemini learns to run your computer. Notion and Figma hand work to agents. Qualcomm buys Modular, and a hint that Fable 5 is coming back. Next, the second half of today's topics. OpenAI just designed its own AI chip, and it used its own AI to do it. With Broadcom, it unveiled Jalapeño, a custom processor built specifically to run models, not train them. The eyebrow raiser is the speed. OpenAI says it went from a blank page to a finished chip design in about 9 months, the fastest high-performance chip design it's seen, by putting its own models to work on the layout and optimization. It's still in testing, but OpenAI says early numbers show significantly better performance per watt than today's best accelerators. This is part of a 10-gigawatt buildout with Broadcom, and the first chips are slated to arrive at the end of 2026 as a small prototype first, then scaling, to run ChatGPT, Codex, and the API. The bet underneath it all: stop renting every chip and own the silicon your models live on. The model most people actually talk to every day just changed. OpenAI shipped a new GPT-5.5 Instant. That's the fast, default version of ChatGPT. The pitch is that it's more fun and easier to talk to. It's better at catching the intent behind your question and adjusting, instead of answering the words too literally. It also handles complex, multi-part requests more reliably. And OpenAI says shopping and local recommendations come back more useful and coherent. This isn't a brand new brain. It's a personality and instinct tune-up to the model you use most. It reaches paid users today and free users tomorrow. The quiet trend here: the big leaps are slowing, and the everyday feel is where the work is now going. Google just made one model able to operate a computer. Computer use, the ability to see a screen, reason about it, and click, used to be a separate Gemini model. Now it's a built-in tool inside Gemini 3.5 Flash. That means developers can build agents that work across a browser, a phone, and a desktop, taking real actions, filling forms, navigating apps, running tasks end-to-end. Google's headline use case is the unglamorous but huge one: long-running enterprise work like continuous software testing, where an agent drives the app for hours. It's live now through the Gemini API and Google's enterprise agent platform. The shift is subtle but big. The model stops being something you chat with and becomes something that does the clicking for you. Even knowledge worker read, the delegate from your dock angle. Notion just opened its doors to other companies' agents. With a new feature called External Agents, you can assign a task to an outside agent right inside a Notion doc, and the first two are Claude and Cursor. The Claude agent is in beta for business and enterprise plans, billed through Notion's credits, and it runs on your workspace, not a personal account. The more striking one is Cursor. Built on Cursor's own developer kit, it can take a coding task from inside your doc and run it end-to-end, planning, building, testing, and then opening a pull request. So your project notes stop being just notes, they become the place you delegate the work. Notion says more agents are on the way. Figma wants you to animate without leaving the canvas. The headline from Config 2026 is Figma Motion, a real animation timeline, keyframes, and presets built right into the design file, now in open beta. Here's the part that raises the question of where design ends and prompting begins. The Figma Agent can build those keyframes for you from a text prompt. When it's done, you export the animation as an MP4, or in dev mode, you copy the actual CSS, JSON, or React code. And it speaks the agent protocol too. Figma didn't stop there. There are agent-generated shader effects, generative plugins, and a new weave tool. And it's previewing code layers in July. The through line of the whole keynote: the canvas is turning into something you direct, not just draw. Qualcomm is making a software bet to take on NVIDIA. It agreed to acquire Modular, a startup whose whole pitch is letting AI run across any kind of chip, CPU, GPU, or NPU, without rewriting your code. If that sounds like a direct shot at NVIDIA's CUDA lock-in, it is. Modular is led by Chris Lattner, the engineer behind LLVM and Apple's Swift, and it's the company behind the Mojo language and the MAX platform. Qualcomm didn't put a number on it, but here's the reveal. The Wall Street Journal and Reuters pegged the all-stock deal at about $3.9 billion, with a close expected in the second half of 2026. For Qualcomm, the chips were never the hard part. Owning the layer developers actually build on is. Builder-friendly explainer crescendo to the open weights payoff. Alibaba's Qwen team is trying to give AI agents a place to practice. They released Qwen-AgentWorld, which they call a native language world model, a model that simulates the environments an agent has to operate in. Instead of one harness per app, a single model covers 7 different environments, from a terminal and a code repo to Android, the web, and a desktop. Here's how it's built. They wove environment modeling through the whole training pipeline, pre-training, fine-tuning, and reinforcement learning on millions of real interaction traces. It ships in 2 sizes, a 35B and a much larger 397B. The 35B weights are open, along with a benchmark called Agent World Bench. The point isn't to replace real environments, it's to give agents a cheap, safe gym to get better in before they touch the real thing. Remember Fable 5, the Anthropic model pulled under export controls? It might be coming back, and the clue is hiding in plain sight. Community members digging through Claude Code version 2.1.119 found new strings that reference Fable 5, including one that reads, "You've used your Fable 5 usage for this week." That phrasing hints the model could return, folded into subscriptions with a weekly limit. On top of that, people reported that Fable 5 reappeared on its AWS model card. Now, the cold water caveat, a string in an app and a listing on a model card are not the same as a model you can actually use, and Anthropic hasn't confirmed any of this. But after a high-profile suspension, even a hidden line of code is enough to get everyone watching. If today's signal was useful, subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's briefing.